Hello, the word conservatory means a place for conserving exotic plants. The Victorians who made conservatories popular also called them winter gardens. And before that, they were called orangeries or glasshouses or greenhouses, all very much about gardening. But if you think that's what conservatories are for, think again. They're living spaces, play spaces, sun traps and fun traps, chill-out rooms and dining rooms, and places to relax. Anglian is Britain's largest supplier and installer of conservatories. And as you can see, there's no end to the designs and sizes they can create. In fact, they've built two just for me in this studio, so I can give you a range of ideas about what to do with this new and exciting addition to your home. And I've already begun work on them. But why two? Well, first, there's no such thing as a standard conservatory, so I've chosen two very different styles. And second, everyone has their own idea of a dream conservatory, so I thought it would help if we imagined the different needs of two sets of owners. At number 22, with the Regency Conservatory in Golden Oak, are Mr. and Mrs. Young, a couple with two small children. Here's what they'd like.
I think we're after somewhere for the children to have to play, and then as they grow older, maybe do the homework in it.
Mind you, we want it for ourselves as well. It leads directly off the kitchen, so it'd be really good to use for entertaining. So I suppose what we're asking for is a sort of grown-up children's room, if that's possible.
In other words, it needs to be a room which suits everyone in the family. Fashionable enough for mum and dad, but functional enough for the children. Next door at number 24, there's Mr. and Mrs. Gray, whose children have now left home. So mum and dad have a newfound freedom, which the conservatory is definitely going to be a part of. They chose a Victorian conservatory in White Knight PVCU.
We love our garden, we spend a lot of time in it, but we don't want a greenhouse.
No, it's a conservatory. We have a lot of very wonderful friends that we like to entertain from time to time, and then the kids come back from university. We look on the conservatory as a social setting, and you know, it's something that extends the house through into the garden.
So it looks like they're after a sophisticated classic style with a flexibility to make it a space for all social occasions. Two very different briefs and a whole host of solutions. Forget the greenhouse, forget the winter garden. I'm going to give each of these families a really cool conservatory. One thing Anglian has found out over the last 37 years is almost everyone spends far more time in their conservatory than they imagined, which is why it's so important at the design stage to be very clear about the way you'd like to use the space. Even plan for more than one use, like Mr. and Mrs. Young. Remember, they want a children's playroom, a homework room, a family room for work or play, and a grown-up space. So we're going to look at both these projects stage by stage from the ground up. Starting with flooring, and there's lots of options. First off, let's look at the vinyl type floorings. These are fabulous, both in tile and roll form. Loads of colours, loads of textures. These are just a few here, really sumptuous and very elegant, very hard wearing. Now you might want to go for carpet, a bit of softness underfoot. These kind of oatmeal natural carpets are really good, very fashionable at the moment. Sisal, Koya, that type of seagrass flooring, again very good, very tough. Be careful though, if you wanted a colour, this is probably not the best option to choose for because these colours on the natural fabrics will fade. Rubber, again quite funky, very modern, not to everybody's taste, but very durable, very tough, easy to lay and easy to look after. Fantastic funky range of textures and colours there. Tiles, natural stone, very good. Terracotta, very popular. And ceramic based tiles. Now this one has been printed with a stone effect, so you can get, again, lots of textures, lots of colours there. Marmoleum, this is a natural fabric, Again, very tough, very hard wearing, and a natural cork and linseed oil mix, so it smells beautiful, and you can actually cut inlay patterns into this sheet. And again, something quite funky, again, not for everyone, but really lovely and hard wearing. Vinyl tiles printed with these photo images, something very modern there. But for Mr. and Mrs. Young, we've chosen yet another type of flooring. Let's have a look. It's designed to look like wood, but actually it's Antico. This particular pattern is a priory oak tick finish. Like a number of the others, marmoleum or rubber, it's resilient and easy to clean, which is vital if you have young children in and out all the time, or where water might be spilled. And because I've continued the floor beyond the doors into the kitchen, the wood strip effect makes the space feel larger. Now, remember that Mr. and Mrs. Gray wanted their conservatory to be a sophisticated extension of the house into the garden. Well, the flooring I've chosen for them is seagrass from Crucial Trading, which is hard wearing without being hard. Any carpet with children is just asking for lots of vacuuming, but less so for adults. There are a number of patterns to choose from, but I've gone for a lovely basket weave, which I feel really links the garden with the house. While we're out here, it's worth taking a look at another design feature. Neither conservatory has glass all the way to the ground, although that is an option. The Regency Conservatory over there has a PVCU panel in golden oak. The benefit being you can use every inch inside the conservatory for furnishings. This Victorian, on the other hand, has the ever-popular dwarf wall. You sacrifice a very small amount of width, but you gain a window ledge for putting ornaments on. As with everything in the process, it's your choice. And while we're talking about glass, it's worth remembering that a conservatory is around 3/4 glass, so blinds and curtains are very important for appearance, for privacy, and for controlling light and heat. And here in front of me we have a few options. Now, this lightweight metallic organza would be very pretty at a window, perfect if your conservatory isn't overlooked. If you are overlooked, though, you might want to consider a couple of options. Something like a medium weight fabric. You can get it in all kinds of styles. I mean, fabrics which have prints on them, flowers on them, checks on them, almost anything goes. Lovely if you want to create an atmosphere in your conservatory. This will really kind of help you achieve that. This woven fabric would be a lovely, soft, cosy effect in the conservatory. If you want an enclosed feel in the conservatory, go for a dark look like this. But again, if you want to keep that light, fresh feel, you might want to look at more cream-based colours or white. Now, the Young family will be using the room a lot during the day, all year round, so they've opted for the most practical solution of fitting Anglian solar roof. This is a unique new development. It's a glass process which hugely reduces heat gain, glare, and almost totally cuts out ultraviolet rays. But dressing the windows gives you the option to diffuse and soften the light. So why not create an awning made from Calico? The children will probably think it's a bit like being in a tent, which only adds to the fun. In each panel below, I've continued the theme with this bright, bold and beautiful blind fabric. Medium weight fabric. You will notice that I've actually used a contrast backing for the blind because these blinds will be seen from outside in the garden as well, so they're just as important as the facing fabric. I'm just sticking them up with a batten which has got a little strip of Velcro on, so they're there, easy to put up, and they'll stay until they need to come down for washing. The other way to control the light is with professionally made blinds, and Anglian recommend one company, Thomas Sanderson. There's a huge range to choose from, all in Solartex, which is a fabric coated to reflect heat back out of the conservatory. Blinds fit particularly well into a faceted roof like this, and there's one little extra convenience for anyone who doesn't want to move from the comfort of their armchair on a warm summer's day: a remote control. For any planning, however simple, it always helps to try your ideas first on a piece of graph paper and prioritise. Mr. and Mrs. Gray wanted to achieve a sophisticated space for socialising, which means they'll be putting comfort at the top of their list. So the theme I've chosen could be described as sophisticated country classic. Now, the easiest thing in the world before you spend any money is to cut out some furniture using graph paper. Using a scale of 1 to 20, now a 1 centimetre square on your graph paper is equal to 20 centimetres measured on your tape measure. So using that basic principle, you can then get yourself a floor plan onto a piece of plain ordinary white paper, and then using your graph paper, cut out pieces of furniture. Here, this square represents 1 metre square. Now that's my big squishy armchair, and I've done the same for basic pieces of furniture, a chest of drawers, a little occasional chair, a little poufet, and I've cut them all around, and I will move them wherever I want in this floor plan, moving around until you're happy with the arrangement of furniture. Much better doing it this way before you commit to any real money where you might make mistakes. Now this room is all about resting and reclining, taking in the view of the garden. Great big squishy armchairs. Notice the soft, subdued colours in here, lots of lavenders and pale plums, very atmospheric. Plenty of storage with a big unit here, and occasional chairs that may be brought in from the rest of the house when they're needed for additional guests. Now, Mr. and Mrs. Young would probably love this sort of comfort, but remember, they needed their space to have a completely different function in the day.
So I suppose what we're asking for is a sort of grown-up children's room, if that's possible.
Again, it's all a matter of prioritising at the outset. For the Youngs, it was play and homework and dining, 3 things that mean we have to have a table of some sort. So it's back to the drawing board with our 1:20 scale and our graph paper. Get yourself a little floor plan of the conservatory, then start to cut out the type of furniture that you want. Here I've already cut out a dining table and 4 chairs, a chair here and a sideboard of some kind. I will just move these around until I'm happy with the layout. Again, when you're considering chairs and tables, it's important to know that you need plenty of space to actually push the chairs outside so that you can actually move freely around the conservatory. This is looking quite nice here. Little chair angled into the room. My side table here. It's looking quite nice. Bright and vibrant, furniture in the right place, looking splendid, but a little bit bare. It's time for some accessories. First off is the tablecloth. Again, we're using very complementary fabrics here. A complementary tablecloth, this time in a nice soft green check. This is made of plasticized cotton, which will be great when you've got messy kids around after painting or after tea time. On with the next accessory now, which is storage. These are just 2 boxes, part of a set of seagrass storage containers. Fantastic, because all these natural tones really work with a wooden conservatory. But more importantly, masses of space for all those toys. I'm just going to tuck the boxes into the corner of the conservatory. This solid wood sideboard is part of a set by Laura Ashley that matches the table and the chairs, and it's nice to have a solid piece of furniture in here. It doesn't worry me that it's slightly higher than the glazing panels. So long as it's not too tall, I think that's quite acceptable. Accessories, well, I've chosen dark wood, very fashionable at the moment, and I think it's rather nice that all the tones of wood don't match. It's kind of a complementary, a nice individual way of building up a look. Nice soft armchair, perfect for reading stories to the kids. Of course, a lovely plant like this is a perfect accessory for conservatory and a lovely place to hang the kids' artwork. Next door, a Mr. and Mrs. Grays Conservatory looks sumptuous and elegant, everything in its place. But this place too can be transformed with a few well-chosen accessories. There are lots of cushions to choose from, and I think in here we should look for texture and beautiful embroidery and beadwork. Really make a point of putting very pretty cushions in here. One over here, and now we're ready for some pictures. And here they are, some beautiful botanical prints. A group of 4 on this wall behind me. Four beautiful botanical prints hung together as a group make a real focal point on this back wall. It's not always that easy keeping real flowers alive, but these faux flowers just look like the real thing. It's looking quite nice. So we should have 2 very happy families with a scheme that works for each of them and one that works all year round. You will want to use the space all year, believe me, so it's worth thinking about heating and cooling options right at the start. All conservatories should come with some way of controlling airflow. Both these conservatories have air management systems. On the Regency there you have tilt and turn windows and roof vents that can be opened and closed automatically. Anglian also conceal trickle vents just above the windows to ensure a flow of fresh air, but you could consider adding a fan. And for cooler nights, you should consider some form of heating. There are very neat slimline electric wall heaters, or you could extend your central heating out into the conservatory. But don't forget to plan this before the conservatory is built. And as I mentioned earlier, conservatories with solar roof not only cut down the heat in summer, they retain the heat in the winter. So that's one option very well worth considering. All of which means you'll be able to enjoy your conservatory deep into the winter and deep into the night. And as both families wanted me to make their spaces double as entertaining zones at night, this would be a great moment to see what can be achieved. So now you can see the benefit of these large storage boxes. as all the toys get tidied away for the evening. Easy as that. The daytime tablecloth goes to be replaced by a patchwork evening time one. And the chairs get their covers too. Set the table with your finest china and add some tea lights. Add some fairy lights to the tree with little lanterns. A good sprinkling of tea lights. Switch on the ambient light, and I'm going to leave Mr. and Mrs. Young phoning all their friends for the party and go and see what Mr. and Mrs. Gray are up to. Well, it looks to me as if they're still in relaxing mode, so let's plump the cushions, get rid of the footstool. Open up the space ready for their guests. Pop on the light and set in some candles. And it looks like the guests are arriving next door, so I'm going to see what's going on. My guess is that there'll be a lot of partying going on at numbers 22 and 24, and I hope in your Anglian Conservatory. I trust you've enjoyed the film we've made for you, and we've managed to show you just how adaptable and versatile a conservatory can be. It could be the making of your home.